Okay, let's do it.
Awesome. Hey, we're here. This is the Course Correct podcast inaugural episode. We finally made it.
We did it.
It's awesome.
We finally.
Hey. Yes, I'm Donnie, your host, joined by
Tyler.
That's that guy over there in the background. You can't see him right now, but it's Logan.
Hey,
he's our current producer. We'll see how long he lasts.
exactly. He's speaking out of turn, so if that continues, you will be fired.
Previous producers, he's just like the third or fourth producer we've had. We've been trying to get this right. Been working for months trying to get this studio set up, and this guy, he's fine. I think he's gonna get us over the hump.
Maybe the fourth producer, but I've helped you record the first episode, so hey.
We'll see.
Hey,
we'll see how it looks.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see later if this is any good. Whatever. These nice cameras and lights.
I'll just edit out all the bad things you say about me. It's fine.
Sounds good.
Good.
Sounds
Please,
good.
Get it out of here. We don't want to deal with that.
This has been a long time in the making, man. This has been not even a few months. This has been years. We've been talking about this for years, and it's finally here.
Talking about it while we're working out early in the morning. We're just pumping some iron, and we're just like, yeah, I really just want to talk about America, and things are going on today. It's crazy even in 2018, how crazy things were leading up to the midterm election, and now we're here in 2020. We're recording this, 5 days?
Is it? Yeah, it's
less than 5 days from
before the election,
the 2020 election.
Wow!
Oh my gosh, it's
what an interesting
insane.
time to start. Boy, this is a very interesting time to start a podcast about different things that our country faces and whatnot. And so that's the whole point of this podcast, right? And if you want to elaborate a little bit more about what the vision is.
Absolutely. When I was sitting here, and when I was thinking one day, I said, I really want to get into the podcast game. Where can I find my little niche here? And I knew immediately you'd be the man for the job to talk to about all these issues that we see every day. And
thank you.
We're called the Course Correct podcast because I want to try to find a way to get this country on the right path forward. And I feel we're not there right now. We're very divided as a country across the board in everything: cultural, political, economics, religion, even our, and this goes with culture, but us talking about sports and movies. Oh. Everyone's just so divided. We're all in our tribes.
Yeah.
I appreciate. I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, and I'm not a fan of the Texans. I hate those fans, but just because I only hate them because they're a sports team, and I don't like them because they're a particular sports team, whatever. But I shouldn't feel that way about my rest of my countrymen when it comes to politics.
No.
We should have disagreements on things, but we shouldn't hate each other for our disagreements.
Isn't that America? We agree to disagree. This is the land where you can believe what you want. You can believe the earth is flat. You can believe in spaghetti monsters, and as long as it doesn't pick my bone or break my bone or pick my pocket, you edit that out.
Yeah.
We don't misspeak in this podcast. Yeah, no. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, we will.
But as long as hey, you're not conducting harm on my behalf or stealing from me, you can believe whatever you want.
Yes.
And actually, just a fun little history fact. That was one of the first things we put on our currency in 1775 was mind your business. Boy.
Yes. Mind your own business. A lot of people it would do good for a lot of these people to listen to that for sure. Don't worry about what I'm doing,
Did they write that with that accent?
Sure.
Mind your business?
That's the way I like to have it. That's the way I figured it when the founding fathers were so uptight about Britain being so in every orifice of every part of their life that they're like, you know what? Hey, King George, mind your business. That's the way I envision it, because history should be fun. And, that's kind of a part of the reason why we did this podcast. We love talking about history. We both have history degrees. I wouldn't say it's worth a whole lot because we're more autodidacts. We like to learn on our own. We like to take stuff and read stuff and evaluate primary, secondary, but tertiary source, not so much. But we're big into history. And so that's this podcast, it will encompass a lot of history. It will have a lot of focus on what's going on today. And hopefully we revisit the historical aspects that either led to it or had ramifications to what we see today. And then hopefully address the future or speculate on what could happen
if
we don't rectify these trajectories.
How do we course correct from here? I'm not going to use that too much. I don't want to beat the drum of the name of our podcast too much. I'll drive myself crazy. But yes, that's kind of where we'll end off each episode on a hopeful note of the future of
Yes.
if we get it corrected, how can we improve from our current place where we're at right now? And I think we can get now to where we're trying to talk about today is the simple, broad topic of America, the United States of America, which I will go on record saying is the greatest country that has ever existed on planet Earth.
Here, here. I agree with you. I love this country. I don't know about you guys. I feel like I wake up every day and I've won the lottery.
Yes.
I know how lucky I am to be here.
It's so rare to just. It's amazing every day. I think about. It's amazing that this country exists on this planet we live on, of all the strife that we see across the globe and the dangerous things and just the tumultuous history that we've gone through from the dawn of humanity, of how everyone has just has committed atrocities against each other. From the moment we figured out we can use weapons to club people, and we can use fire as a weapon against people too. Everything that's gone through all these different countries that have risen and fallen, and communities and things, and these tribes that move from Asia across that land bridge to North America, through Alaska and Canada and where we're at now. It's amazing, all these things that had to happen for us to be sitting here today talking about a country that's how many years old? I can't do the math off the top of my head.
243, 244, something like that.
1776.
So 230.
Well, I mean, hey, it's 1791 if you want to be technical. That's when Virginia ratified, and that's what finally sealed the deal on America. So, at any rate, one of the longest running constitutions in our in all human history.
And the idea of the country being a country started in 1776. So we picked that as our founding, whatever. We celebrate the 4th of July. It wasn't technically signed. Everything, it was agreed to on the 4th of July. If I have my history correct, I remember this from one of my classes back in the day.
Two signed in 1776
on July 4th, and then a month later, everyone else signed it or something. Yeah.
So the other 54 signed it August 2nd, but we recognize July 4th as the inception of our nation.
Great day to have fun and have parades and fireworks all over. It's awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite holidays, honestly.
What other aspects of America? Because I know, yes, we feel like we've won the lottery. We're super blessed to be here. But what other aspects make this country great, in your opinion?
Free speech, really, right off the bat. Like we're in this room talking about America. We're going to be criticizing ideas of people on this podcast going forward. We're going to criticize specific people and specific historical figures. But the fact that we are allowed to speak our minds, and as long as we're not speaking for violence, which we will never advocate violence.
Never. Violence,
absolutely.
No, we're more in the camp of Martin Luther King, right? Where peace is the way we want to go about this. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And so, I that's why I'm excited to be a part of this. Is we're using our voice as a platform to try to grab people who maybe don't quite feel this way about America, because unfortunately in today's world, it's we only teach American history, the bad and the ugly, but never the good. We want to rectify that, because there are so many parts of American history that are good. That we've done
so many great
things.
It's amazing.
But I'm okay with talking about the bad and the ugly. I think we should talk about the bad and the ugly.
Oh, we're not going to sweep anything under the rug here.
No.
I'm perfectly willing to point out when America was wrong, and same with us too. If we say something that's incorrect, we'll gladly correct it on the next episode on air, whatever. I'm happy. Yeah, we. Oh, yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that name it's gonna be memed. Oh no. Yeah, my gosh. But yeah, freedom of speech, number one, right away. I think that's the most amazing thing, because there's other countries around the world where that is not something that it's something here that's taken for granted. But if they speak out against the government or whatever whatever's in charge, whatever theocracy is in charge, they can lose their lives or their hands. whatever.
Or just even their livelihood, right? If you don't agree with the state, well, you better get with the program, or else you're going to be doing some really cruddy jobs over the next few years of your life there, Junior.
Or you get sent off to the gulag, and then
my gosh.
Yeah, we tolerate so much here. We tolerate some degree too much violent speech that sometimes is not censored. As this last week we've been dealing with big tech censorship, and they've been kind of pointing out, hey, you've censored some of these things from these certain points of view, but what about these here? When a person calls for violence, that's when I think we should say, hey, that probably should be censored, but don't censor when somebody is pointing out a scandal.
Well, you're saying basically that the First Amendment is under attack.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is, especially this year.
It's so under attack. I mean, so much of our rights are just being diminished and it's been a slow diminishing process. And down the road, we're gonna unpack some of those things. We're gonna unpack the history of different ideologies that led to the diminishing of our rights. Because really, when you look at going back to the history of 1776, right? And the tyranny that King George enacted upon the colonies, well, there's more tyranny now than there is in 1776. But we've tolerated a lot of that. So these are the types of things that, as this podcast goes on, we want to unpack different historical things that we had to research on our own. We had to learn on our own. Things that I wasn't taught nor in public school nor college. And to try to paint a better picture of who we are, so that way we have a shared history as Americans, so that way we can go into the future together as Americans, stronger rather than divided as what we see today.
I like we say about a shared history, because today it feels like we're just living in little separate camps with ideologies that we're kind of entrenched in our own little tribes. And I think everyone should know that, and I'll look at the camera for this, we have to share this country together. We live here together. Let's share it. Let's not burn it all down to the ground. And that's, we've seen that this year where we're at currently with America. Parts of the country are burning down because of certain things that happen. And people get mad about it, and they go out and they protest. And then when the protests turn ugly and violent, where people are throwing Molotov cocktails, or they're going into stores and stealing stuff,
or just plain beating people you disagree with.
Beating people up. That's not, where it's wrong.
No. Yes.
That's where we say no. Let's not do that. Protesting peacefully is another great aspect to answer your question from before about America. That's what sets us apart from a lot of people, is that we tolerate all these protests. People shutting down streets to protest whatever. I'm happy for them to do that. I will support their right to do that. But once it becomes violent, when it becomes way too much, when people are beating other people up and pointing out that person, hey, person's
raise your fist.
Yeah,
you think like us.
Make sure you think like us, or otherwise we'll beat you up. No, that's where it's wrong, and that's where I think we need to step in and say, hey, we can't continue this path, or we're not going to have a country.
Because
a union.
America is a union. Right now, it's mainly, unfortunately, it's about left and right, which George Washington said, don't make it about political parties in his farewell speech, right? But we've made it about political parties, right? So in order to defend liberty, we have to do our best to speak out for it to the best of our ability. And we may not get anywhere. We may get somewhere. We just hope to get people to think and to not think like us, but to just think. I'm a fan of the Socratic method. Just ask questions, because that's how I came to know what I believe. And
think for yourself, too.
Yes.
A lot of people will take something they hear from somebody and say, okay, well, that's true because I heard it from them, and they're an authority figure. They're a person of stature, so I need to listen to them. Okay, well, certain people, sure. If you trust their judgment, if you know them personally as a teacher, somebody that is in your orbit, that is somebody you trust, sure. But if you see somebody on the media, no matter who it is, left, right, center, whoever, don't take their word for it immediately. Watch another source. Watch a source from the left, or watch a source from the right, and you can generally find out what happened with the story. You can find some truth to it because the left's going to characterize it one way, the right's going to characterize it one way, and you need to listen to both sides of the argument to find what the actual truth is.
Yes, and as an educator, I try to tell that to my students all the time. Don't believe what I say. What if I'm lying to you? Now, I really don't have my intention is not to lie to my students, but I always say things and I say, don't believe anything I say. You need to go and verify the information. American education used to be 100 hours. Basically, you can learn reading, writing, arithmetic in 100 hours. And if you know reading, writing, arithmetic, then you can teach yourself anything and learn anything, right? So I tell them, you guys can read, go verify the information. You guys are the luckiest generation in human history. You have the internet. You have YouTube. You can try to find out the truth on your own. You don't need me.
You have the entire world's information in wealth of knowledge in your pocket.
At your fingertips.
You take out your phone, you can look at the time, you can look at the calendar, you can look on Google and search anything you can possibly think of, and you can probably get an answer to it. And when you get whatever that first result is, don't take that first result as the 100% truth. Look at other sources too. I think a lot of people just are willing to go along with whatever they hear, whatever the narrative is, and run with it. And they also listen to the sources that call themselves unbiased, or they are the most trusted name in news, those particular organizations. But those are the ones that you should watch them to learn what you can from them, but don't take their word 100%, because just like with anybody, and those people particularly are on the left, but people on the right, they always have a narrative. Everyone has a narrative that they're trying to push out there. You need to recognize it. You got to recognize the signs of a narrative.
It's old to have multiple sides arbitrarily declare themselves in the right, and if you're not with us, then you're wrong. I don't ever want to be of that camp. I want to always have outside thoughts, outside ideas. I love to read people I disagree with. I love to read people I agree with. I love to continually understand that I know nothing, and that I must continue to educate myself and try to find out this information and challenge what I believe, so that way I can reach a better understanding of the truth. And so this whole podcast, it's just a dialogue. It's a civil dialogue. And yes. I hope to eventually have people on that don't agree with you or I, or, and just
Absolutely.
Different thoughts and different ideas. And hey, it's a good time to have free speech and to try to throw it out there into the ether of the internet and say, who's willing to listen, right? And so if you're willing to listen, great. Welcome aboard. This is going to be a journey that we don't know what's going to happen, but
we're going to be learning along. I'll be learning from you, you'll be learning from me. We'll be learning from each other, the audience. We're going to take
we will never learn from Logan.
Yes. We're not learning anything from him. Not at all.
Maybe what not to do.
All right, my ears hurt. Shut up.
Yeah. We'll solicit questions from the audience, and we're, like we said earlier, we're glad to make any corrections on things. We want to learn along. Like, this is a learning process, a journey that we're all going to be going on together. I'm going to learn eventually to stop moving my hands around this table so much. I mean, like my gosh.
It's distracting. It's just totally distracting.
It's all the space here I got in front of me.
Don't look at me. Look at my hands.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all good. Because you know what? We've been working towards this for at least a couple years, and we're doing this for fun. We do this for fun in our free time anyways. We talk about things that we care about. We love this country. We don't want to see it torn apart. I'm not saying it's perfect, nor are you. But we are wanting to look back a little bit into the past and say, where did we go wrong? What are some characters that got us to where we are today that, we see as trying issues for America today? And once again, speculating on the future. Where do we go from here? Because, man, Ronald Reagan said it best. We're never more than a generation away from the extinction of liberty. And I'm paraphrasing. It's not correct. So if we don't try to gather people together and talk about things that we care about and say, hey, have you thought of it this way? Hey, have you heard this side? Then we might very well destroy ourselves. And that's something that I can't fathom the idea of.
We could lose this gift. I mean, speculating on the future, as we said, we're recording this about 5 days from the election. Where do we go from here? What is in the immediate future, and then what is, I guess, 4 or 5 years down the road? I think we're gonna wake up the next morning. We're gonna be up to the very early hours of the morning trying to figure out who wins this thing, if we'll know. But we're gonna wake up the next day. The sun's gonna rise. We're still gonna exist. We're gonna be here. But where do we go from here? It can go either way. We don't know. I'm not making official predictions, but just this country, like if we don't learn to share it with each other, what happens from there?
Well, with a divorce of the union between left and right, it won't last. It's impossible. Once again, Abraham Lincoln also said it best. There's no way an outside force can destroy us. We can only destroy ourselves from within. Once again, paraphrasing. I'm not saying this is historical accuracy. When we get to historical accuracy, I will make sure that our producer pulls it up here and we can have videos, photos, quotes. But we have to be together. And we don't have to agree on everything. That's fine. But we must respect each other's inalienable rights. That you are able to think your way. I'm able to think my way. You can say what you want as long as it doesn't call for violence. As long as it doesn't steal from me or break my bone, we are good. We have to rediscover our shared history as Americans and stop making it about tribes, about I'm with this group and I'm with this group and we're oppressed and they're in the better because of this, and that. Listen. We have a gift, like you said. We have a gift. And it's not only a gift, it's an experiment. And the question is can men be free to govern themselves? This is something we hope to address in the next, few years. We got a lot of stuff planned. We have over 100 different things lined up saying, we want to talk about this. We want to talk about this. Hey, we're going to talk about this historical issue. Hey, we're going to.
Yeah. And some things may go longer than others. We could be delving into a topic that requires us to really break down the history. It could be 100 years of history that we have to go through and break through, but we're going to try to do it in the best, most possibly entertaining way, because we know history to everyone, besides us being history majors, is boring.
Well, because they make it about, people and dates.
And dates,
that's not the way you teach history. It's a story. It's a cool story. You can learn from it.
There's a story is in the word, and and historiography. There's ways to look at different, the way history is taught, or the way history is written too. It can be written in a complete, the phrase "history is written by the victors."
Correct. Yes.
And how true is that? No one on the losing side gets to write the entire history of the war from their perspective. They're kind of shoved away, like, no, we don't want to hear from you about what we did to you.
I hope that over the next few years we don't tear each other to pieces. I hope.
Yes.
I pray that we can find common ground again, because man, we are not as united as what we should be. This is the United States of America. Okay, not all states are going to agree. Not everybody has to agree, but anybody listening to our voices, we have to come together. No matter what you believe, we have to come together and try to find common ground, or else this will not work. And that is a big fear of ours, that we'll have to tell our children one day what it was like to be free. And
we don't want that to happen. I want us to have a shared culture again too. That's another thing. I love talking about movies and games and stuff. We're not going to go in and review different things and movies and games, but I want us to be able to go to the movies again. Hopefully we can in 2021. We'll see what happens if the movie theater industry doesn't completely go belly up. But I want us to have, these conversations. I have friends I know that completely disagree with me on whatever views, politics, whatever. But we can talk about movies and games and television shows, and even some of that's being eroded. And I don't want to lose that. I love talking about sports with people, and sports has become a battleground too for this divisiveness. So if we can just all kind of agree to disagree, set aside politics for time to time, and take a little break, I think that would be helpful too. Teaching people to say that politics isn't everything. being in these issues every single second of your life is not healthy. You need to have an outlet for these things.
Well, and we need a healthy dose of perspective also, because like we're talking about, we have to understand America's not perfect. We all know. I don't think anybody's here and really is going to say, yep, America's never done any wrong. Oh, we've done plenty of wrong. But I'm not going to also grovel on my knees and ask for forgiveness for what other people have done 200 years ago. I don't live in that. I've never done anything to wrong people or to enslave or to oppress or to do anything. But we need to at least talk about this as a community, as a country, to say, hey,
yes,
let's heal these wounds. Let's get some perspective on the history. Because like I said, it's always narrow. It's always very myopic. Let's only focus on these bad things. And this is your country.
Only focusing on the negative, yes.
That's, okay, no country's perfect. No country's perfect. I look forward to talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly with this country. And through the bad and the ugly, which I know plenty of, I still think that we're a really good nation. And America is worth fighting for. And the experiment, it's still on. I really do believe that men can govern themselves. We just have to have the scruples to do so.
Yes, it must continue. And, we talk about how America, has done wrong things. So has Canada. So has Mexico, England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern
Russia,
Ireland,
China. Everywhere.
We can single out everywhere. Australia,
everywhere.
Everyone's done something horrible throughout history. Mm-hmm. Going back to when we figured out we can use sticks as a weapon to club people and fire. It's all within the DNA of humans. Like, humans are not perfect. America is not perfect, but I think it's, to get back to the very beginning, the greatest experiment that's ever happened on this entire planet. There's a reason why people want to come here. They're trying to get here, whether it's legally or illegally. They want to come here because of the opportunity that this country presents.
Yes.
The economic engine that we run.
Oh, yes.
Pretty much for the entire world. So it saddens me to see all of the people out there talking about how much they hate this country that they live in. And it's easier for me to say, just get out of here, whatever, go to another country. But, it's like, those are the people I want to talk to. I say, why do you hate this country that allows you to criticize it this way?
Right. Where 22% of the world's population wants to immigrate here. It might be 21%, where most, right. It's the majority of immigrants, if they could choose one country, it is here. Well, if it's so bad and evil and full of hatred, why do we have the most amount of people that want to come here, right? We're doing something right. And
yes.
Here's my thing. They say if you make over $39,000 in a year, you're in the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world. That's like most Americans. What are we doing, guys? Why are we so divided? We have to talk about these things. We are going to dig up so much history. We're going to dig up so many cultural issues, societal issues, ideological issues. I want to unpack them with you. And I hope to do this throughout the podcast. And, hey, love us or hate us, we don't care.
Yes.
We're doing this for fun.
Yeah, this is for fun.
This is totally for fun.
Yeah. We're happy to have people come on or people comment and criticize us for what we did wrong and how we presented this thing. I mean, I guess our producer did an okay job this episode.
Give him 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He stays for the next one.
Just maybe the next one or two. We'll see. We'll see how.
We'll see what's for dinner next week, and then that'll.
When
Yeah.
we start cashing those checks you guys promised.
Yeah, we'll see if they'll even clear. The banks. So yes, I think that's pretty good for our first episode here. For the Course Correct podcast. I think we have
what's coming down the pipe, man. What's next week?
Really, with what we're talking about, the election being on Tuesday, I feel like the election has to be something we can't just ignore the 2020 election and 2020 in general. So
that's a good point. That's pretty historical. We should totally cover the 2020 election.
Yes, I mean, we're living in the most historical year in human history, maybe
Really?
since World War
Yes.
II, since 1945, when the entire world mobilized against the Axis powers. I think the entire world is mobilized against COVID-19, and then this year in particular. I think we just can't ignore 2020 anymore. We can talk about America all we want, but this year in particular has been what has driven me to get with you guys and our fifth producer, whatever, to
What's his name? Laura? It doesn't matter.
Scrogan? I
Yeah,
don't know.
something like that.
Yeah, something like whatever. To get on this podcast and do it. And this is what this year made me realize, that I have to have a voice. I have to get my voice out there, and we have to talk about these things. So 2020 election, I think, will be our next topic to delve into.
I'm down. I'm totally
Next
down.
week, so-
But if I could,
That'd be a good one.
if I give you some speculation for by this time next week, I don't think there will be a declared winner. That's just speculating.
Ooh.
I think we're going to know around 1:30 in the morning.
Okay.
That's my little prediction. We're going to know either way. And I will, to end on a very positive note, at least with everything that's gone on this year, with COVID, with all of the violence that we've seen in our American streets and across the world too, and all the good positive things that have come out of this. I think a lot of unity has happened amongst certain groups, but other people too, We're going to have the most turnout ever. I think there's no doubt this 2020 election will be the most turnout for voters in history.
I agree with that. I think there'll be more people voting now than are in all of our elections. Not because, yes, of course, every 4 years the population grows. I get that.
Yes.
But I really think that people will turn out in numbers to vote in this most critical election, where we are razor thin divided. And like we'd said earlier, if we're not going to make this marriage work, unfortunately, because it is now between left and right, then we will not go into the future together. And that's a primary concern for us.
Yes.
And so a lot of history coming down the pipe, a lot of random issues, and way down the road, we are going to have some guest speakers on, people we agree with, people we disagree with, and we want to allow them to have a platform to speak as well, because the First Amendment is the greatest amendment. It is such a blessing to have.
Absolutely. Freedom of speech is amazing. And the rest of the Constitution as well. We love it.
Gosh, yes.
We love it. We love this country. America is the greatest country to ever exist. I'll say it for the third time in this podcast. And also, let's share this country together, everyone, please. Thank you very much. This has been the first episode of the Course Correct podcast.
We did it, everybody. Oh, my
We
gosh.
did it.
Hey, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week for the 2020 election.
Yes, here we go. All right.
That's a
Thank
wrap.
you.
Good job.
Yeah.